Well, it's 6 o'clock on the dot on my watch here, so I think we're going to get started. So thanks everybody for being here. I want to welcome everyone. My name is Andy Wilkie. I serve as the Director of Business Development and Public Affairs at Greater Mankato Growth. I'm one of your moderators this evening. I'm joined by Joe Spear of the Mankato Free Press as co-moderator. I want to thank Joe and the Mankato Free Press for your partnership with this forum. For those who don't know, Greater Mankato Growth is the Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development organization for the Greater Mankato region. Our membership includes more than 900 businesses, nonprofits, and public partners. We also operate Visit Mankato, City Center Partnership, and Green Seam. Tonight, our goal is simple. We want to give voters a chance to hear from candidates directly about issues that impact the business and economic vitality of the region. I want to thank you all for attending tonight, the City of Mankato for hosting us, and our good friends at KTV and Bethany Lutheran College. This event is being recorded and will be available online at greatermankatoelections.com. Before I address some housekeeping items, I want to mention that this is our last forum for the 2022 election season. We saved the best for last. GMG and our partners have hosted 7 candidate forums this year with a total of 23 candidates. You can get more information on all of our forums, along with a voter toolkit and candidate bios at greatermankatoelections.com. Now, I would like to set a few expectations of our audience to help us present an engaging and civil dialogue this evening. We have more questions than we have time for, so we'd ask that you help us make us most of our time by holding your applause until the end of the forum, and there be no shouting or heckling of the moderators.
Barb, forget what I told you.
This evening's format is as follows. Each candidate will be asked a question and given 2 to 3 minutes to answer. Now, there are 5 of you, so I'm hoping we can keep the responses closer to 2 minutes or less, and I may interject as needed. That being said, we do want to hear from these candidates and are interested in a robust discussion and getting their thoughts on issues, so it may take longer in some instances. Any follow-up questions or discussion will be at the discretion of the moderators. These questions have been put together by me and Joe, along with input from the Greater Mankato Growth Public Affairs Committee, and they have not been shared with the candidates. Lastly, some of you may submit questions at the entrance, and we will bring those up later on, and we will read those as time allows. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the candidates for this evening's forum. On my left here, we have District 3, we have Mark Pipo and Ross Arneson. On my right, we have Vance Strurenberg of District 2. We have Kevin Papp of District 4 and Kip Brunder of District 5. Please join me in thanking them for being here tonight. Now we will begin with our first question, but first I want to remind folks, make sure you press the button on your microphone right in front of you and that the green light turns on in your microphone so that the microphone picks you up. So from there, Joe.
Thanks, Andy.
One more. There you go.
Thanks for doing this. Great that GMG can do this. We really appreciate it. And obviously at the Free Press, we value these forums and they're important place in our representative democracy. So I think we're just going to start getting to know the candidates a little bit. We'll start over with Kip.
We'll start with Mark over here.
Okay.
So, yep, sorry.
We'll start with Mark. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and why you're running for Blue Earth County Commissioner.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. I think it's on.
Yep.
Well, first of all, just welcome to everybody, and thank you for this opportunity to speak on the issues. I came here when I was right out of college in 1976. So, and I found this to be a wonderful community, Mankato, Blue Earth County, and married to my spouse Shirley. I have 2 grown children, and I have 3 grandchildren. And when I was in working in our business, this community, like I said, has been very welcoming and very open. And I actually had the privilege of being in the State House for 8 years, and then in the State Senate, and even mayor of Skyline, and then currently a Blue Earth County Commissioner since 2009. And I just want to say it's been a privilege and honor, as I say, and it's responsibility and to be in public service, and I appreciate all the time that I've been and trying to make it a better life for all of us, that I improve on what we've had when I came here. So, and with that, I'm looking forward to the rest of our conversation.
Okay, Mr. Arnson.
Hi, I'm Ross Arneson. I was born and raised in Austin, Minnesota. I went to school at the University of Minnesota where I got business and English degrees. I went to William Mitchell College of Law to get my law degree. I'm licensed in the state of Minnesota state courts, the federal district court, and the U.S. Supreme Court. I'm married to my wife, Barb, over there since 1979. We have 2 children. Our son, Nathan, was a graduate of the Air Force Academy. He's a pilot now with Delta Airlines and in the Air Force Reserve. Our daughter is a social worker. She went to Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and became a Green Bay Packer fan, so we're thinking of writing her out of the will. But actually, I'm proud of both kids and delighted with my 2 grandsons, and now we have another grandkid on the way. So occupations I've held, organizations I've worked for include Austin Daily Herald, Robbie's Restaurant, Hormel, Mower County, Kodak, Northwestern National Life Insurance Company, the First Judicial District, Wanton County, MSU Mankato as a teacher, Blue Earth County, where I served as county attorney for 27 years. During that time, our office processed thousands of cases, and the few that I worked on, civil cases allowed for the establishment and expansion of Victory Drive and Madison Avenue, allowed for the establishment of the Red Jacket Bicycle Trail and County Highway 90. So that's a little bit about my background. As far as running, I learned from my parents, from church, from Boy Scouts, where I was an Eagle Scout, that public service is important. And I've tried to spend a lifetime in that, both in occupations and serving on other committees as well.
Thanks, Ross. Commissioner Sternberg, why are you running, and tell us about yourself?
Well, is that, am I on now? All right. Vance Sternberg, District 2. At this point, it's the north half of the city of Mankato, but that'll change after the first of the year with redistricting. I've been a county commissioner, and now I'm in my 12th year. Before that, I was on the Mankato City Council for 4 years, and I retired before that from the City of Mankato Police Department, where I retired with 27 years of law enforcement. I am married to my beautiful wife, Mary. We have 4 children and 4 grandchildren, and proud of every single one of them. I've had a life of public service. I started when I was 18 as a part-time police officer in the city of Breckenridge, Minnesota, and after graduating with an associate's degree in law enforcement, I started law enforcement in May of '76 as full-time, and retired in February of '04. A lot of issues that have happened over that time period, a lot of things that have happened, and I've always been interested in trying to solve problems instead of complaining about them all the time. And this is, I've been blessed to be able to be on a great city council when I was on Mankato City Council, and I've been blessed to have 4 other great commissioners on the Blue Earth County Board.
Thanks, Vance. Commissioner Papp.
My name is Kevin Papp. I'm County Commissioner, was elected 2 years ago. I'm a lifelong Blue Earth County resident. Had graduated from Lake Crystal Walker Memorial School in 1978. Had to come to Mankato to find my wife Julie on Fowl Street. Here, Julie and I own and operate our family farm, 126-year-old family farm. We've got 2 sons. Matthew, the oldest, lives here in Mankato, works in the area. Andrew and his wife Samantha are on one of our family farms. He works in Lake Crystal. She works in Vernon Center. We've got 2 grandchildren, Lennox and Hendrix, who celebrated his first birthday last night. Why I'm running, why I ran 2 years ago, and why I'm running again, many reasons to want to be a county commissioner, but my top 2 reasons are that I'm certainly passionate about dedicating my time, my experience, and energy to ensure Blue Earth County remains strong, viable, and sustainable for future generations, for those grandchildren and others. And the other reason is this is a role where you can make a real difference in a place you care about for the people you care about and see every day.
Thank you, Kevin. Commissioner Brunder.
Well, first of all, thank you, Andy and Joe, for holding this tonight. I appreciate it. My name's Kip Brunder. I've been on the Blue Earth County Board for 20 years. Prior to that, I was the mayor of Eagle Lake for 6 years. I'm married to my lovely wife, Kim, for 39 years. We have 3 children. My oldest son is an accountant up at the clinic. My middle son is a regional rep for Napa, and my daughter lives down in Nashville and has a little candy store. So if you like something sweet, let us know. We'll get something lined up for you. We have 3 beautiful little granddaughters that we enjoy spending a lot of time with. We have a small business in Eagle Lake called Ginger Pear. I bought it from my dad in 2012. He started the company back in 1973. So I've been very involved in that through these past years. I got on the county board because after being the mayor of Eagle Lake for 6 years, I really enjoyed interacting with the county and the county commissioners and the staff they had. And it was just a really neat place to be able to do something good for the community. And it was a good way to give back. I enjoyed being the mayor, but the county board was just the next logical step. And I have really enjoyed doing it for the last 20 years. Enjoyed it so much because of all the different opportunities we get as a commissioner. We get to make a lot of cool policies for the county, but you get to meet a lot of really neat people and get to spend a lot of time dealing with all kinds of different issues that are fun to deal with. So with that is why I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you, Kip.
Thanks, gentlemen. I appreciate that. So this next question, we're going to start with you, Ross, and we'll go around the horn this way and come back to Mark. So this question is about budget and taxes. So setting the budget and property tax rates is one of the most critical roles of the board. How would you approach balancing the needs to make strategic investments throughout the county while also minimizing property tax rates? What will be your budget priorities?
Well, better turn it back on.
There we go.
Obviously, efficiency is important. Well, I was county attorney for 27 years. We had constantly raising caseloads, and yet we kept the increase in staff below those caseload increases. Part of it was use of technology. So, we have to handle things efficiently. I believe that with the county using sales tax instead of just property taxes is a good thing, because there's people from outside of the county who use the county services, use our roads, are at the Civic Center right now, and they should help chip in as well. As far as budgeting, I was on the Minnesota Public Employee Retirement Association board as a trustee for 18 years, and we dealt with very complex budgets there. Of course, I dealt with budgeting as county attorney. I had to bring a budget appeal because I believe that the county board was not properly handling the budget for our office. The statutes provide a statutory basis for bringing such an appeal. I won the appeal, and believe that I have good experience in those areas.
Thank you, sir. Vance.
Thank you. The budget is something that we start working on in May of the year, and we have numerous work sessions throughout the year and we start with a wish list of all the directors of all the different parts of the county. That normally gets cut down pretty drastically by the time this time of year. We have to go through and really see what's the needs and wants of the county, what's going to help, what we might be able to lay off for another year or two. It's a interesting procedure, but it seems to work. And it has been working so well that Blue Earth County's got one of the lowest tax rates in the region. And I say that's because of the administration that we have, the staff that we have. We have some amazing people that work for us. And it turns out that we have some amazing people out there in Blue Earth County that have great businesses and help our tax rate.
Kevin Teal, what would be your budget priorities?
Well, I think whether it's a county board or really any board that you serve on, I truly believe you really only have two main responsibilities, and that is to direct and protect. You know, certainly we direct the county through our mission statement, our core values, strategic plan, and things like that. But also much of the direction of the county board is through the budget. And we need to protect not only that budget, our investments, our resources, our environment, and everything else. And it's through that budget process, as has already been mentioned, we start, the county board meets monthly with the department heads and has direct input and hears what some of the concerns are, then running through the administrator as we look at many, many different versions and have some input on those in work sessions. But no matter what it is, whether it's our 2-year operating budget, our 6-year capital investment budget, anything else, we want to make sure it's responsible, sustainable fiscal policies concerning both income and expense. And I would also add that public input, transparency, and that public input is so important. And that's why our budget hearing, it's already been scheduled for Tuesday, December 13th at 6 p.m. We want to hear from those citizens as to what their input is on the budget process.
What was that date again? I want to write it down.
Tuesday, December 13th.
There we go.
6 o'clock.
Good to remind everybody. Thank you. Commissioner Brunner.
Thank you. As in all elected officials, I think your priorities are always around safety. You know, public safety, keeping our law enforcement funded, our attorney's office, so the people that do get in trouble can get put in their proper place, our custody office for keeping the people in the jail. Safe roads, that's always a very important priority when we start our budget every year. And as we work through those priorities, we have to worry about getting staff and people to deal with all of the issues that come up through that. So that's all part of the process, and our administration does a great job bringing a general budget to us very early. As Vance said, in the year we spend a lot of time on it. They meet with the department heads, and then it gets to our board. And it's always beneficial to us to keep the property taxes down. And transparency is one of the biggest things that we like to try to promote at our level, I believe. We ask for a lot of input from the public, and we try to do as much as we can to get the information out there and keep the tax rate down and try to keep the public safe and the roads safe and keep a budget that's fairly well managed. And I would have to say the administration has done a great job at that, because we have a healthy fund balance and we're in a good position where we can do different projects where you might not be able to if you don't have the fund balance to move forward with some projects. The sales tax, as Ross mentioned, is very beneficial to this county. We did 0.5% sales tax. Greater Mankato Growth was very helpful with us getting that out to the public. We had lots of general meetings, met with all kinds of different people, and got that through without a real big issue. And it's done a lot of good for our safety of our roads here in Blue Earth County. So my first priority is safety and making sure we can provide the services that we have in Blue Earth County at an efficient and effective manner.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bebo.
Thank you. Well, a bunch has been said, and it's true really that the budget is the priority and kind of the heart of what we do in any government, but particularly the county here with our closeness to people and to the issues or to the problems or what needs to be done, and of course having a good prioritization. When we're presented with a budget of several hundred pages in length, and it takes a bit of time then to go through it, and we have to try to look at what, make sure that we do prioritize and then continue and go forward. It's been said, like Kip was saying, like you said, public safety is a big one, and roads, and and also then having the budget for our needs for our people, our employees, and making sure that each department is adequately budgeted, and that makes sure that they can carry out all their duties with the kind of budget. And that's what makes up the biggest part of the 80% of the budget is that the capital request road projects and the staffing levels. So it's our duty then to work, and what we do, work with the county administrator, with the other board members, and with the department heads to ensure that we have a sound budget that's definitely balanced. So,
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Peepo. The next topic is economic development, and we'll start with Vance.
You got it.
When it comes to economic development, our region seems good at collaboration and partnership. As such, the region's been recognized as a model for public-private partnerships. What will be your approach to economic development to ensure that our region is an attractive place to do business?
One thing Blue Earth County has done very well is working with its partners. It works with the city of Mankato hand in hand. It works with the state, and it works with the federal government. We've done this in pulling in grants. We've done this with pulling in helping our business places across the county. We will continue doing that. Trying to keep the tax levy down is a huge part with helping the businesses throughout the county, and I think that's a very important part for us to do. Other than working with our partners, working with the businesses and the state and federal partners and the city of Mankato, and of course the other cities across Blue Earth County, that's about as much as I got tonight.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Papp.
Well, whether it's economic activity or new economic development, one thing we have to have is a workforce. You know, we have to make sure we've got that available, a growing, qualified workforce. We've got many areas in communities in this county, in the state, where we, quite frankly, have more grandparents than we have grandchildren. And we need to have that workforce. But just having the workers isn't enough to make economic development work. We have to make sure we've got adequate housing, adequate health care, certainly education, all those amenities that are so important. So it really is just part of the process, making sure we keep our community sustainable.
Thank you, Commissioner Papp. Commissioner Brunder, what will be your approach to economic development to ensure the region is an attractive place to do business?
Just give Greater Mankato Growth more money so they can do a great job that they're doing already. We do participate in a lot of different partnerships, and Greater Mankato Growth is one of them, and we do appreciate all the work they do here in Blue Earth County. But it is important that we do just keep the workforces is so important. We cannot get enough workers to do the stuff we need to do. And by just partnering with as many people as we can, Region 9, Greater Mankato Growth, we partner with the small cities. Blue Earth County has a small revolving loan fund that we loan out to the small cities for some gap financing. So we try to help get some economic development in the small cities. So we just kind of stay involved through all that. Again, we have some resources and we're able to do some of that stuff, and just seems to be working out pretty well for us.
You're on the record with the more money stuff.
23 budget's already set.
Mr. Peepo.
I think that our role in when it deals with economic development and supporting business vitality. One thing we can do besides support GMG is we can make sure that our taxes are as low as possible while maintaining all our essential services, and also making sure that that we realize then that small businesses are the backbone of our community, and that they are the bulk, really. That and, of course, larger companies, but we're the bulk of our employees, our workers, and that, as Kevin pointed out, that we have to make sure that we can bring in or have our young people, try to encourage them to stay here. So we need to do the things to help that make that possible, and then to keep them here and make sure that that as a community that we realize the importance of having our young people stay here. Yeah, because we do have more grandparents, it seems like, than kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Peepo. Mr. Arneson, your approach to economic development to make it attractive for businesses.
So the hard thing being the last person is all the good points are taken. And I thought Vance did a really good job with the points he was making. Public safety, of course, is one of the primary responsibilities for the county. And that's not just law enforcement and prosecution, it also includes human services. And part of the public safety concerns we have now that have really grown is the drug epidemic and all of the fatalities that have resulted. The Free Press had an article in today's edition about that, about all the fentanyl deaths or fentanyl type of deaths, synthetic opioids. In Blue Earth County, meth is still a big concern, and other opioids as well. The county's getting grant money now to deal with that, and that has to be implemented. And it's a tough nut to crack. Dealing with drugs, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to treat people and to get them off it, but you have to do the best you can. I was part of the group that started the drug court in Minnesota and in Blue Earth County, I should say, to help deal with that. I think that roads and bridges, the infrastructure is very important. Again, I was part of the group that managed to get the County Highway 90 established through the court actions that I brought, and that was something that was requested by local businesses. While I was county attorney, small cities came to my office and asked me to provide prosecution services for them because we could do it more efficiently than they could do with hiring outside counsel. Again, getting the grants, I know that Al Forsberg, I worked with him when he was a county engineer. He was very good. Vance and some of the other commissioners, Colleen Landcamer, did a very good job going up to Washington and knocking on the doors and getting money for our area. I think the city council has done a really good job down here. When I came to town in 1983 is when I started working in the county attorney's office. People were afraid that downtown was going to become a slum. And, look at it now. Look at the development that's gone on now. So I think they deserve a lot of credit for that.
Thank you.
All right. I think we're on to our next question here. So, Mr. Papp, you're going to be up first here, and then we'll go to Mr. Brunder, and we'll come back around here, and we'll end with Vance. So, this question is about housing. Housing continues to be a major concern in our region. The city of Mankato's most recent housing study in 2020 recommended additional housing units at all levels throughout our region. How will you work with cities throughout Blue Earth County to address housing?
Well, I think I'll continue to work the same way I have the last 2 years. Housing was one of those topics where, as a new commissioner, I had to spend a lot of time listening and learning. And what I learned about housing is housing is not just housing. Sometimes people will think of homeless, some think of first-time buyers, people that are in between jobs, things like that, people that want to upgrade and things like that. I think our goal should be in Blue Earth County and in all of our communities that we have a housing that if anybody who wants to live here can live here. And I think that means that we need to have housing that's safe, that's affordable, but also available. And clearly, that's some things that we need to continue to work on is what can we do to increase our housing shortage and have those opportunities so everybody that wants to live in this county can live in this county. And quite frankly, as a rural commissioner, housing is not just inside the city limits of any of our communities. It's housing throughout our entire county.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Brunder.
Thank you. Yeah, housing is a very complicated subject, and the county's really not spooled up to deal with housing. So we partner with the city of Mankato. Again, another partnership. We have a great deal of partnerships to get a lot of this stuff done. And it's just very important to try to work with the small cities and find a good, safe, affordable housing. Commissioner People sits on affordable housing, and they're constantly working on different ways to bring housing to this area with other sources and some fundings and grants that they can. But we just try to keep an open relationship between the small cities and the city of Mankato and work through that as best we can.
Thank you, sir. Mr. People.
Thank you. Well, that is an area that the first thing I got on the county board, I was put on actually the Partners for Housing. It was called Partners for Affordable Housing, and then it's now called Partners for Housing. And that really dealt directly with the homelessness or with people that are temporarily out of housing. And it's grown. We've worked hard at getting dollars from different sources, writing grants, economic development grants, but a lot of it is then just from good people in the area here and the support where we raise dollars from Pedal Past Poverty, and as some of these guys know, that's what I got them to do once in a while to raise money. And that's just kind of the tip then, because obviously we have the long term then with getting more housing, and it's been brought up that the county here, we work with the city real closely. A lot of that, it becomes housing in the Mankato area, but then we have those opportunities in for some in the rural areas, and that's where we have to strive to just probably think out of the box a little bit what more we can do. I always think that we could have like smaller housing and still try to stay within your requirements for construction and everything to build them, but try to build a little bit more affordable housing, whether it's an area, acreage or some kind where you then have small houses. That's something we ought to look at. We have to kind of look outside the box, because it's a problem, and it doesn't seem to be getting less. It seems to be getting more of it. So that's where we got to work harder at.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Arneson.
Well, keeping property taxes at a reasonable rate is something that needs to be done to help make sure that housing is affordable. We do have a problem with homelessness, not just here, but throughout the country. And there's a big overlap between homelessness, mental illness, and drug addiction. And again, the money that the county's going to be getting, going to be close to $1.5 million, I believe, over the next 18 years, as reported in the Free Press today. Hopefully we can get some of those programs up and running to help deal with those people. We want to, deal with the homeless, but you don't want to become a magnet for homeless people all over the country either. So, we have to, that's a fine line to walk. I was a trustee with the Minnesota Valley Federal Credit Union, and trying to keep that organization running well, running efficiently, so that it could provide mortgages at reasonable rates. It was another thing that can be done to help improve the housing in the area.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Schoenberg.
Almost forgot I was last here. That housing has always been a very important part. As a law enforcement officer throughout the city of Mankato, I saw the homeless across the city. I think people would actually be surprised on how much homeless we do have in the city of Mankato. It's heartbreaking. We do work hand in hand with the city of Mankato. We do work on what I don't like calling low income, but work income housing, so people can afford to live and raise their families. I've got a past. I was past chair of a Habitat for Humanity. We have worked. Commissioner Pifo has been chair of Partners for Housing, and so we do I can't say we do as much as we can, because you can always do more. But Blue Earth County is steadfast in trying to work with the partners and solve this problem to get good housing for folks that really need it. And just like Mr. Arneson said, work with the folks that have drug issues, work with the folks that have the problems there, and get the help they need so they can get into the places they need. And a good housing area, if we could have a good housing area to get these people started, sometimes they can get rid of their drug issues and start up. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, it looks like the next topic is human services. Health and Human Services is one of the areas that is unique to counties in many ways, especially when it comes to mental health services. How will you balance limited resources with the need to ensure an accessible and reliable continuum of care that meets community needs? And we would start with Mr. Brunder.
That's right.
Well, that is a very big need even in the Blue Earth County area. We hear from our Human Services Department about the ongoing cases, rising cases, the severity, from my understanding, and the shortage of the beds is becoming a huge issue. We've been hearing that over and over, and it seems like when we talk about an issue at the county level, or at any level, I would imagine, you start to hear about it, and also hear about it again, and then you hear about it again, and then you hear about it again. And when they get to be that much of a discussion item for whatever you're discussing, that's an issue. And we're hearing that about the shortage of the beds in the state and the country, as far as I know. We are moving people that need help out of our jail or out of the homes that they're not safe in, and we have to go all over the state and sometimes to neighboring states to get housing for these people. And when our department director was in a couple weeks ago, throwing bricks and mortar at it isn't necessarily going to fix it, because if we have a building, my understanding is, we don't necessarily have anybody to staff it. It is getting to be very hard people to find to staff. And so trying to sort out what is safe for the community, safe for the person that's in there, and safe for the employees. And we really don't know how much money it's going to take to do this. They are starting to do some different studies to try to figure out what they need. But at the end of the day, is what I gathered from the conversation was, if we build the bricks and mortar, we might not have the staff to put in it. So we're doing the best we can at the local level, trying to keep our staff as well equipped as we can. We have hired some more people in that department. We are very supportive when those directors come and talk to us. We try to be as responsive as we can, but we all know there's just not enough money. We do a lot of stuff with the mental health inside the jail, which has been very beneficial in the past. We have the Yellow Line Project, which keeps mentally ill people out of the jail. And when we talk to the sheriff and the chief deputy, mental illness in the jail is a huge issue also. So we need to sort that out at the same time. But it is becoming a very, I would use the word crisis. And I think as a county commissioner, we need to look at how we can help find the places for these people to get them better and get them back to their families. But at the same time, try to be reasonable and be able to afford it, and trying to find that staff and that stuff is just going to be very difficult. We're working with the state on some different programs, but again, every time you do something with the state, it seems to take longer than it should, and we just have a real issue. So we just stay engaged with Human Services and try to be as supportive as we can within our financial needs.
Thank you, Commissioner Brunder. Mr. Pifo, same question. Human Services and mental health issues.
Okay. Yeah, we've been having that as becoming more and more issue, and we have to work closer with the legislature on, I think, on the funding and placement of people. I know Senator Sharon, when she was in the Senate, she worked hard on that, and like as Kip says, it's continuing and a growing problem, and then finding places for people, whether it's just temporary or if they have to take long-term attention and care. So it's taking all of us to work together, and we have a good human services department, people that deal with it, and we just have to circle around and continue to find ways and programs that are more effective to helping those that are going through a crisis, as besides the housing situation.
Thank you, Mr. People. Mr. Arneson.
I've heard mental illness and drug problems being mentioned. I haven't heard truancy being mentioned yet, and that's another concern. When I was county attorney, one of my assistant county attorneys, Mark Lindahl, he worked with the courts and with the schools to speed up the process so that when kids are truant, they get into the system faster and try to get them back into school. A GED is good, but it's not as good as a high school diploma. And there's a high correlation between kids who are truant and kids who wind up in prison. So truancy is another area that has to be dealt with.
Thank you, Mr. Arneson. Sternberg.
Mental illness and working with human services is something that's near and dear to my wife and my heart. We have children with special needs, and we've been working with county programs for well over 35 years. And I can't say I understand it any more than other folks, but I do understand it well. It's been mentioned today that we have a serious problem with our crisis centers. Our crisis centers have been shut down across, especially southern Minnesota, requiring Blue Earth County to sometimes drive folks all the way up to Duluth to find a crisis center at an exorbitant, a huge rate. And that's a huge problem. We've talked to our congressmen about it. We've talked to our senators about it. This is an issue. But again, as Commissioner Brunder has stated, you just building a building isn't what's going to happen, because with the issues with hiring right now, you can't find somebody to fill it. And when we have folks selling hamburgers that are making $18 to $21 an hour, it's really hard to hire somebody to watch somebody in a crisis center and pay them $18 an hour. So we have a lot of different issues going on here, but in Blue Earth County, we have again worked with our partners. We've worked with the city of Mankato. We worked with the Association of Minnesota Counties and the National Association of Counties, and we are continuously working on trying to get these problems solved. I'd like to tell you that I know the answer. I'd be a very rich man if I did. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sternberg. Commissioner Papp.
Well, clearly the county has a role to provide assistance for those who need it and to protect the vulnerable. As a newly elected county commissioner, you want to learn as much as you can, as quick as you can, about all the things the county does. And as a fourth generation farmer, I felt comfortable with some of the drainage ditches and with the weed inspection and gopher tail bounties and things like that. Human service was not one that I wanted to get up to speed quickly, and asked to spend some time with human services and hear a little bit about that. I don't know if I was prepared when I spent that afternoon there that I would have probably close to 20 different people present to me as a new elected commissioner about all the things we do in human services. That is a pretty broad part of what we do here as the county. One of the things that I think I've learned more about, and I think a lot of people maybe don't understand if they haven't been that involved with, but I think a lot of people don't recognize or realize that how many of the things that we do as a county in human services are heavily mandated by either the federal or the state government. And it's delivered at the county level. We're the delivery system. We're the boots on the ground, I guess. And that was something that really opened my eyes and realized that there is a lot of different services that we are required to do. Some of those come with adequate federal and state funding, and some of them are not. And as we're asked to do more and see more of those unfunded mandates, or even if there was funding and as costs increase, and if those costs or that income from the federal or state government isn't increased to the county as income, it becomes an expense to us and a real concern.
Thank you, Commissioner Papp.
All right, those are keeping track at home. We've gone through all five. At this point, we're going to come back to Mr. Peepo here for this next question. So this question is about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Currently, a community-wide effort is being undertaken to better understand the status of inclusivity in the greater Mankato region. The results of this study will be used to improve organizational and community diversity and inclusivity efforts by addressing barriers to services and help future planning efforts. Question, do you think there are opportunities in our community related to diversity and inclusivity? Mr. Peepo, to you.
What are the opportunities for?
Yes, do you think there are opportunities in our community related to diversity and inclusivity, to improve diversity and inclusivity?
That's definitely an issue that's come, I guess, to the forefront in pretty recent times, a year or two. So definitely at the county level, we can strive to do as much as possible to be understanding of how inclusive and helping those in diversity, or trying to be as diverse as possible, whether it's trying with prioritization maybe with some employment, whether then it's with understanding and trying to work with different individuals and groups to get a better understanding where they're coming from and what their needs are, if there's anything that we could do. I think part of it's just getting to be more aware of people that are struggling with those issues and trying to do as what we can to help. It's to me it's a new issue that's I think we're just finally getting into it, grasping with it. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Arneson.
Well, I've seen a lot of changes over the years in dealing with different groups. Used to be that Catholics and Lutherans didn't get along. I remember my father telling an older brother that he couldn't date a girl in high school because she was Catholic and we were Lutheran. Well, I married a Catholic. Some of those barriers have come down. If you look around in our community, I think we must be a fairly welcoming community because you do see a lot more diversity here now than you did 30 years ago. It's not perfect. It's a constant struggle, something you're always trying to improve on, but I think that we've made a lot of strides.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stromberg.
There we go. We are blessed in the city of Mankato to have the diversity that we have. We have a strong amount of Somalians in the community, and some of them are close friends of mine. Shortly after I retired from the Mankato Police Department, I joined a facilitating group for the Greater Mankato Diversity Board, and I was on the first facilitating group that went into the schools and taught diversity, and it was a very unique experience for me. And sometimes I think I taught myself more things in that whole thing than I was teaching the kids. But it's enlightening, and it's something that we have to do more and more of. We have to get away from the idea that teaching history on what's going on in our past is a bad thing. We need to get rid of that idea. We need to understand that we've made mistakes in the past, and we don't have to make up, but we have to understand what those mistakes caused other diverse groups and what they caused the indigenous folks and the blacks, and how much heartache that those mistakes have cost. We are continuing to work hard with this. We are continuing to, in the county, working with our different diversity groups. And like I said, we're just blessed to have the groups we have in the city of Mankato and welcome them here.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Pep.
This is an important issue, and I think we should address it like every important issue, or really all issues, and that is to listen and learn. We need to listen actively without judgment. We need to listen for those shared values, our connections, opportunities to engage, and we need to learn more about. We're doing some good things with some of the projects going now, but after we've listened and learned, we need to help link to others who can help, to look at other stakeholders, and then lead through a process that will make a difference. So I look forward to the actions that have already started, and hopefully continue. The county will be at the table actively, I hope, to be engaged with that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Render.
I do believe we have opportunity for diversity in the Mankato and Blue Earth County area and the small cities around Blue Earth County. Are we doing enough? Probably not. Are we going to keep trying to do more? Of course. And I think, as everything else is already said here tonight, it's all very important that we try to keep those open lines of communication and just try to hear all sides of the story and move forward.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, it looks like we're at the workforce university topic, and we will start with Mr. Arneson. One of the strategic advantages of our region is that we are home to more than 25,000 college students at 5 colleges and universities, including the second largest university in Minnesota. As employers are struggling more than ever to recruit high-trained workforce, what more can be done to keep more students in our region after they graduate?
Well, I think a fair number of students...
Hit your button for me, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
I think a fair number of students do like staying here. We tend to have a youthful community, because of those colleges. They have been a great asset. I'm not sure what more can be done to try to keep them, make sure that they have jobs available, make sure that they have housing available. And I think that, the community has a lot of assets that keep young people here. You saw it going into the Civic Center tonight. A lot of people in their 20s, they are here. So.
Thank you, Mr. Arneson. Mr. Sturenberg, what do we do to keep more students here after they graduate?
We have to keep our industry going strong and have a good reason to stay here. It's interesting on what some of the problems with industry is that we don't have some of the 2-year degree folks that we need, which is the plumbers, the electricians, and what's interesting is when you look back, and I look back, of course, I'm old, but when I went to Alexandria Vocational School back in 74 and 75, the 2-year degree was paid for. If you were a Minnesota resident you got your associate's degree and you paid for your room and board and your school and your books. I think it would be very good for the state of Minnesota and for the folks to get back and get back and do that same program that was here 50 years ago. I don't understand why it went away, but I tell you what, we need well-trained people that's coming from the vocational schools, and those same people, if they want to go on and get their 4-year degree or get to be attorneys like Mr. Arneson, they can do that. But give them a hands up and give them that ability. Now, that's not going to make them stay here, but it sure is going to help our businesses to have very well-trained people right here in Mankato, and we have some amazing businesses, as we all know.
Thank you. Commissioner Papp.
I think this still ties back to the economic development, economic activity, whether it's workforce, whether it's housing, but we don't want to give them a reason to live, to leave. Lots of reasons to live in the healthcare. That was my healthcare segment. But a reason to be here, whether it's as young adults, as starting a family. It's healthcare, it's childcare, it's adequate housing, but it's also those other amenities. In all seriousness, the night we're doing this across the street from a concert, we want to have things we can do here where we don't have to go somewhere else for. We want to have the ability to see the buffalo. We want the children's museum. It's all of those things, recreation and other things that not only will hopefully keep them here, but have others. But we can't keep them here for a job if we don't have the infrastructure. And if we don't have adequate broadband, reliable, high-speed broadband, and again, keeping them here doesn't mean necessarily keeping them within city limits. We'd like to keep the farm kids in the rural part of the Midwest as well. We've got to have that infrastructure. We've got to have that reliable, high-speed broadband. So if they or a significant other or spouse has a job, they can do that from that location.
Thank you. Commissioner Brunder, what more can be done to keep more students in our region after they graduate?
Well, I think everything said is very good information, but I thought all those people were waiting in line to get into this tonight. News to me. Kevin hit it right on the nose. I think the amenities, back when I graduated high school and went to work, we were in a family-owned business, had family here, and we were obviously going to stay here, but that's not the case sometimes when people come from out of town and come to the college. They need something else to keep them here if they don't have family or an ongoing business already. And so having that infrastructure, the parks, the playgrounds, the trails, which are things that I never even thought of when I was starting my career here in Blue Earth County, to have those amenities for people, because it's not all about how much money you make. That certainly is key for most people, me being included in that. But a lot of people look at not so much about what they can buy, but what can they do and what can they enjoy in the area for themselves and their family. So if we create that sort of environment for them to have fun and make money, it seems to be a win-win for everybody. And some people like to do this thing, work from home or something. So you obviously have to be very flexible in how you accommodate all those and trying to make people be able to do that. And with being able to work from home, you can work anywhere you want. So I think it's just as important that we have the parks and all the other amenities in the county. As difficult as that is sometimes to spend money on, because it is an amenity. It's something that you have to find money for, and it's very expensive, but it keeps people in the area, so I think it's very worthwhile.
Thank you. And Mr. People.
Well, when you're last, you get to go just add on, but agree with everybody else. A lot of the people that they get out of, there's programs at MSU, like in the automotive and electronics, there's different, and the VOTEC too, that give them the right education. But as has been said, how do we keep those people here? And I think like Taylor Corp tries, has things, GMG does things to try to promote people to stay here and have the environment. All the things like Kevin said, the amenities, and Vance and Kip and everybody said, that all helps. So the key is to always try to, I think, keep in mind that when they come here, how can we best keep them here if that in areas that they're interested in as they went to college, they're either VOTEC, so and have the environment for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Struenberg, we're going to start with you on this issue here, is childcare, something that is near and dear to my heart because I have a couple kids in childcare right now, and it's a question we have asked at every forum that we have had this year because it's such a critical need. And counties play a major role in licensing for childcare providers. How can the county help improve the issue of childcare in our community?
Blue Earth County has worked with its cities across the county and in helping with new businesses, providing that loan that is very necessary for people to start a child care business. I think you need to make sure that when you go in and do the checks, that things are used, that you use common sense, because sometimes, especially when you're working with diversity issues, somebody from another culture might not think the same way that you do. So I think it's very good to have a staff that understands the different cultures and how people react. We have to follow the rules and regulations that are given us by the state of Minnesota. That's something that we do 90% of the time across the county, but it's having the staff that we have that goes in and checks those child care places and understands what people are working with and making sure they're safe and adequate, but understands the different cultures that are working. We have a Somali child care place here in Mankato. They obviously are pulling in people from their culture because those people understand each other. And I really appreciate that. That's a great thing.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Papp.
Child care is so important. I was blessed to be able to serve as president of Minnesota Farm Bureau, the largest farm organization in the state. And you think of that as farm policy, agriculture issues. It was surprising how many times child care was the policy discussion. And it's not just child care within the city limits, it's child care for those rural businesses, those farming businesses, and things like that. Having that child care available, affordable, has been mentioned, but it is a problem. I'm grandpa of two, one that turned 1 yesterday and a 3-year-old. They started, Hendricks, the 1-year-old, he went to child care in a different direction, in a different town than his 3-year-old brother did, because there wasn't any openings. And we have got to continue to push to make sure we've got that. We want, there is nothing more special than children or grandchildren, but with your children, you want to make sure that child care is safe. It has to be regulated, but we've got to look at what are some of our other options we can do to have more child care, not only within city limits, but throughout the county.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Brunder.
Child care is a small business, and as frustrated as I get with my small business and trying to deal with all the day-to-day operations and the accounting and the sales tax and the federal tax, we can get started on that all we want. But when you throw children and grandchildren into the mix and trying to regulate a business like that is very difficult, because it is a it's a fine line. I mean, we want to be open enough so people can start a daycare business, but we also have to protect the people that are the kids that are in the business. And, you know, our county staff works extremely hard licensing all these daycare centers in Blue Earth County, and they take it very seriously. And when something goes wrong, you have to try to deal with it. So, you know, how the county can help, I think, is going to be by just trying to be open-minded and trying to get these businesses, these daycare centers open and have the tools and the knowledge and the equipment they need so that they can run it inside the regulatory structure. And if they can't, then they have to be figured out how they can do that. But and we have done a little bit of financing for some daycare centers out in the rural area with some county money that we had, which was very helpful because, to be honest with you, I didn't think anybody would jump at it, but we had quite a few people take advantage of it. So, you know, we can help regulatory by having our staff be educated and educate the daycare centers and try to get some funding. But everybody's right. This is a discussion item that is just amazing, and it is expensive to send these kids to the daycare.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Peepo.
Well, it's kind of been said there, because the county, we are trying to do a good job of increasing the number of child care centers, at least with our low interest loans and I think the one in Lake Crystal, for example, had some help with that. There's several of them like that. We also, you know, you have a situation then with the state with the licensing and their inspections and so forth. Sometimes I wonder if that's could be worked on a little bit, but that's of course on the state level. Taking into consideration, yeah, they're small businesses. They're trying, and for the most part, they all do a good job. And trying to keep the regulations and the inspections in more of a common sense fashion that takes care of a problem but doesn't make it so burdensome or confusing then for the people that run the daycare centers. So to try to keep more enthusiasm for them to keep going and operating, because they are a vital part of our keeping a good workforce in an area by having good daycare centers.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Arneson.
It seems everyone's interpreted this is, you're talking about daycare, not child protection, when you talk about child care.
Correct, yes.
Okay. My kids, you know, both have problems with that. It seems like my son says he pays daycare to make his kids sick. And they go there and every couple of weeks the kid has to come home because he's got a fever, and then it's got to be 24 hours without a fever before they can go back again. And my daughter's, you know, expecting her second child. It makes her wonder, well, gee, can I afford to keep working, or does it make more sense to stay home and take care of the children? But the county's role, I think, as far as the finances, is relatively small. It was mentioned that, you know, they're involved with the licensing and small business loans, but if what you're looking at is, you know, tax credits or something like that, I think you're looking really more at the state level than you are at the county level.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, the next topic is public safety. That certainly is a big one nowadays, and we'll start with Commissioner Papp. In recent years, law enforcement at the national level has focused on trust, engagement, and accessibility with the public. Blue Earth County Sheriff budget is roughly $12 million, employs 100 staff. In January, we'll have a new sheriff for the first time. What will be your public safety priorities, and how will you support the new sheriff?
Well, I think whether you're a citizen of this county or any place in the world, your kind of top two things is you want to be safe and you want to be healthy. And certainly the county has a role in both of those in many different aspects. Public safety is an essential service that this county does. I think as we look at the sheriff's department, we have to recognize when some people talk about the sheriff's department, they think of a deputy in a squad car. And that is a big part, and that's an important part of our public safety. But that is not the only part of that sheriff's budget and what's going on. We've got to remember, we've got the jail and the jailers, we have dispatch. We have a lot of pieces to that puzzle. I look forward to seeing what some ideas we've got with the new sheriff in town, so to speak, and what opportunities. But that's something clearly that we're going to continue to have to spend resources on. We're seeing it as our smaller communities are not able to be sustainable with their law enforcement and looking to the county for more help and contracting and things like that. So I think the public safety, whether it's patrols, whether it's the jails, is all something that we need to continue to work on and improve on.
Thank you. Mr. Brunder, same question.
Yes, I've had the privilege of working with Sheriff Peterson since I got on the county board, and actually him and I were elected the same year when I was elected mayor, and he was my first speaker at my mayors and clerks meeting in Eagle Lake that night. So I've had a long working relationship with the sheriff, and I think as the county board, we're the finance structure for the sheriff's department. The sheriff is an elected position. He runs that department. It is his department to run, but it is a very complex department, as Kevin alluded to already, and there's a lot of working parts inside of that. And we've been hearing a lot about the deputies, custody, dispatch, and their willingness to do the job because it's getting to be much more difficult as we talk about rules and regulations. I've been in the jail several times voluntarily and been through it, and you want to talk about regulations and rules and training and how to get those people spooled up to do their job is a long process. And so I think we'll have to see what the new sheriff has to offer for us, but the only thing I'm going to do as a county board member is try to give him as much support as I can and keep the community safe and keep our jail and dispatch and all of our officers trained very well.
Thank you, Mr. Brunder. Mr. Peepo.
Public safety is important, and that's the prime area then with the sheriff and the sheriff's department. And of course, it's getting a lot of scrutiny from various incidents in the recent past. But as a commissioner, as it's been said, we need to just help what we can with the financial, and with the new sheriff, obviously, maybe there'll be different avenues that will be taken. But of course, a lot of it is regulated, as Kip was saying, with in the jail, what you cannot do, or whatever, and it's not easy. And then, of course, they have that employment situation, and like with custody officers, that maybe we can give that more attention. But again, it's obviously it's one of the bigger components of our county that is public safety. So we have to, I think, do all that we can to support our law enforcement in their job.
Thank you, Mr. Peepo. Mr. Arneson.
They've mentioned the sheriff's office, and of course, the sheriff's office is important with public safety, but it's not the only one. As county attorney, we provided prosecution services, not just for the sheriff, but also for city police, for conservation officers, and for state patrol, and all of them perform important roles. With the sheriff, I guess, there'll be a little learning curve when you get a new sheriff in. I think both candidates, seem really good. And the sheriff's office, you don't hear complaints about it much. Peterson's done a good job over the years.
Thank you, Mr. Arneson. Mr. Sternberg. Public safety priorities.
Well, obviously, this is near and dear to my heart. After 27 years of law enforcement, and it's interesting where Commissioner Brunder talked about working with Sheriff Peterson. Sheriff Peterson was a part-time police officer underneath me when I was a police officer in Lake Crystal. So I've known Sheriff Peterson for quite a while. Public safety is not just the Sheriff's Department, just as Mr. Arneson stated. It's the county attorney's office, it's dispatch, it's community corrections, our probation, it's, our jailers, it's our dispatch, it's everything placed into one big thing that people call public safety. We have to work with all of these things, and we have to make sure that these are kept to community standards that people understand, that keep them safe day in and day out. Mr. Arneson stated that we have two good candidates running for the sheriff, and he's absolutely right. There isn't one of them that people ask me about that, and I say we have two amazing deputies running for sheriff this year, and either one of them I would be proud to work underneath. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. It appears we don't really have any questions from the audience, so we'll move on to another topic, an important one, transportation. And Mr. Brunner will take this first. About a year ago in 2021, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act was signed into law. It's estimated Minnesota will receive about $7.4 billion in funding, including $2.2 billion in new funding. Some of that will end up filtering down to the counties. What will be your priorities when it comes to using new funding for transportation?
Well, as any road in the state of Minnesota and across the country, from my understanding, is that we are getting way behind on our repairs and maintenance of the roads we're having. So that is going to be a priority for Blue Earth County. We also did pass the sales tax several years ago, which has been a huge important part of the budget to keep our roads safe, to build some new roads, overlay some of the old ones. But I'm not, Vance is the guru on this because he's on transportation, does a lot of that stuff, but we are so far behind with the repairs of the roads in the state. So my support would be to send it towards some repairs, keeping the roads safe. I'm a big advocate of the painted lines, which we can't buy paint anymore because of the shortage of that. But, we have all those challenges to deal with, so.
Thank you, Mr. Brunner. Mr. Peepo, transportation priorities with the federal money.
I'll believe it when I see the money, I guess. No, well, as Kip said, I mean, obviously roads, bridges, and the infrastructure is an important part. I think some of it, I have the transportation. I don't know if I think they get into clean energy and all that too. I believe a bunch of different things with transportation in itself. With I don't know if it's like charging stations or whatever you can do. I think it's a kind of a broader transportation bill than I understand, like from the past. So, and of course, a lot of it to be allocated to the Minnesota Department of Transportation. So, yeah, we would spend the money, I think, wisely and prudently, but it would, yeah, when it gets here, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Peepo. Mr. Arneson?
I would echo that we need a lot of repair work done on the roads and the bridges. A lot of them have been neglected over the years. It's always more exciting to spend money on a new project than to fix the old stuff, but the old stuff needs to get fixed as well. One concern I think we're going to have in the future is if the country keeps moving to electric vehicles, you're going to lose a lot of gas tax money. So we're going to look for alternative means of funding that. It's also going to affect farmers. A lot of the corn crop goes into ethanol, and if they quit selling as much gasoline, it's going to be affecting them as well. So, you know, in some ways we have a bright future, but there's other issues that have to be dealt with as well.
Thank you, Mr. Arneson. Mr. Sternberg? Guru, any silver bullets?
I wish I was as much of a guru as Commissioner Brender given me credit for. I have worked with infrastructure and transportation for the 12 years that I've been on as a commissioner. I've been chair of the Association of Minnesota Counties Transportation Infrastructure Committee. I'm currently vice chair of the National Association of Counties Transportation. counties had a lot to do with the infrastructure bill as it came out. Having money coming directly to counties was a huge benefit for the counties, and so we didn't have to go and have it come through the state, but we got it directly from the federal government, which was a huge benefit for all the counties across the state of Minnesota. We've been blessed in Blue Earth County to have good, amazing engineers. Al Forsberg was an engineer here for years. He did a great job for Blue Earth County and the surrounding area. And we now have Ryan Tilges, who is equally as well and noted not only in our area, but across the state of Minnesota in getting national attention for his a good job that he does. We need to work hard at making sure our roads are taken care of. Our farm to market is taken care of. I work hard with rural communities to make sure that the folks outside of the metro areas get that money, money coming to them to help their roads and bridges. I could go on with infrastructure probably for another hour if you want, but I think you get the idea. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Papp, transportation priorities.
As we talk about transportation, I think a lot of people, the public, you think about roads, and it's interesting up here, nobody up here just said roads. We have 744 miles of county roads in the county, but I think a lot of people don't realize that Blue Earth County has more miles of river than any other county in the state of Minnesota. We have 368 miles of river. We've got 162 miles of just open drainage ditches and things like that. So you can't talk about transportation infrastructure and talk just about roads. It's roads and bridges. And bridges are expensive. And it's something we can't do on our own, and we need to continue to look at those opportunities. But all of the infrastructure is so important, not only for transportation to and from work and church and school and everything else, but as a farmer, it's that rural road system, and it's not just our county roads, it's also our township roads. I don't go anywhere without starting on a township road from our location. And equipment is getting bigger. I've got the opportunity right now, the Association of Minnesota Counties has a Implements of Husbandry work group, which is a fancy name for farm equipment. But it's no secret that farm trucks are getting bigger, combines are getting bigger, manure application and things like that. We have got to continue to maintain our infrastructure, because without it, there's no way we can have that economic development.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to try and get in one more question here before our final question, and it's about infrastructure more broadly. And I want to have folks have an opportunity to talk about the Rapidan Dam as well, because that has been a huge issue. So, Mr. People, we're going to start with you. So the county has recently engaged in a discussion about the future of the Rapidan Dam and is also evaluating where to locate a new maintenance building. What will be your priorities when it comes to infrastructure and balancing the needs of the county to deliver services efficiently?
Well, yeah, it would be to resolve the issue of the dam, whether we rebuild or whether we take it down and expand the recreational area and all that. Obviously, because that's takes money either way, and so that's going to be a big problem to deal with, or some might call it an opportunity. And then, of course, with Public Works, finding a building, finding a location that is efficient and we can deliver the services better. And so I were looking for a place then that, the land's going to be expensive, but we're looking for a place that is a good location that serves our service area better. So obviously, it wouldn't necessarily be in the middle of the county because, we have more in the Mankato area, so it'd be closer to Mankato, but finding some property then that is affordable, but, that'll serve our purposes. So I don't, those two things that we'll grapple with first, and that definitely, they'll both be on the agenda for
Thank you. Mr. Ernst?
beginning.
Well, the issue of the Rapidan Dam and new location for public works, they're not new issues. They go way back. Back when I was county attorney, I remember being on vacation in Colorado and getting a call from the county engineer, Al Forsberg, because the Rapidan Dam needed emergency repairs and they didn't have time to go through the normal bidding process. It's been kind of Band-Aid approaches on repairs for that dam for years now. This was an issue when Mark ran against Katie Wortel 12 years ago for county board. At that time, Mark was advocating repair and keeping it, and Katie Wortel thought it was a black hole. And we've had 12 years to be dealing with this. Years ago, the county knew that it was going to need to replace the jail, and it started saving money. And eventually, the jail grew into the Justice Center where you had courts and corrections and prosecution as well. But, they'd saved money for years to deal with that. And, they should have been doing that the last 12 years with the dam. Recently, I've spoken to Ryan Thilges, communicate email with him. I've spoken to Al Forsberg and to Tony Cornish about it. And there's a lot of different viewpoints. There's a lot of good arguments both on repair and removal. Some of the reports now are more encouraging than they were, a decade or so ago. Ryan says that borings indicate that the sediment there is not as contaminated as thought before. It was thought before that it had so much PCBs in it that it would have to be landfilled like toxic waste. But Ryan indicates that maybe it could be spread on farm fields. Forsberg had told me that he thought there's a lot of gravel in it, so it might not be best for that, but it could be used, say, for filling in gravel pits or uses like that. So maybe in some ways we could turn a lemon into lemonade and find uses for that. For the public works, again, that goes back years. Al Forsberg had encouraged that the county would purchase land near the current public works building. Years ago, it was offered by a realtor, and the county didn't do that. Back when I was on the committee for constructing the new Justice Center, what I advocated at that time was that the county buy enough land so that it could have a county campus, and over the years, move it in. Not all at once. I remember on that committee, Phil Clausen, the head of Human Services, said, "Do you know how much that's going to cost?" And I think he was trying to look good for the board on how concerned he was about budgets. But that had kind of a chilling effect, and nobody else supported it then. But I think where the Justice Center is now, that would have been a good place also for the Public Works. It's right across from the MnDOT building, so they've got the state Public Works there as well. But again, it's something that, they should have been saving money for a long time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Struenberg.
Two of the most stressful things I think the county and board has been going through for the last year. Public Works building is superbly needed to get something new. We are in we are continuing looking for a good place for the Public Works building, whether it be along or near County Road 12 or down by 83, or possibly some other place. We're not right now. We have not set on a place. We do need to get a place. We need to get it set, and part of the grant that we received from Senators Klobuchar and Smith is money going towards that for EV charging and for solar and for the lighting and stuff like that. So we don't have a lot of time because most of those are on a time frame that we have to get it in. we're continuously working on that. On the Rapidan Dam, I have made my view known. In fact, it was reported in the Free Press that I felt that it might be a good time to actually take the dam down. And after listening to numerous different experts on it, and after going through the dam many times, and seeing the shape that it's in, a lot of the issues is working with the Army Corps of Engineers and with the DNR and trying to make this as feasible as possible for Blue Earth County. Now, whether we do that or we decide to save the dam, we're still going to need to make a decision before we can start working with the state and federal government to get the money. That's where we're at.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Papp?
You know, I've spent a lot of the last 2 years listening and learning about a lot of things as a new county commissioner. If I had to pick one thing I've listened more about and learned more about is the Rapidan Dam. Now, I'm fortunate it's located in the district I serve. I rode across it in the school bus. Sometimes you made it up the hill in the winter, sometimes you didn't. I think as a county, or certainly with me as a county commissioner, my goal is a safe, stable, and strong infrastructure for our community. Okay, I've kind of broke the Rapidan Dam down into 5 areas, what I've learned listening so far. Number one, the concern. We've got a concern that this is going to deteriorate to a point that might result in failure, creating downstream legal and environmental impacts caused by uncontrolled release of water, sediment, and debris. Well, why is that? Number two, the integrity of the downstream apron is critical to protect the overall stability of the dam from the undermining of the highly erodible Jordan sandstone foundation. Well, what do we have? My third point, we've got a dam on a highly erosive river that is full of sediment, without any basin water storage, with marginal flow control due to damaged heater gates acting like a man-made waterfall. Number 4, what do we want? What do we need? We need a financially viable long-term solution. But number 5, the reality is we have citizens who are financially and emotionally attached to the dam and its history. I already mentioned I may be one of those with the school bus and everything else, but it's also a reality that is very expensive to operate and maintain. And I think we need to continue to have those conversations about, number 1, is it our responsibility as a county to produce electricity? So I think that's the first question I'm going to urge we talk about is it our goal, if our mission is to effectively and efficiently deliver essential services, is the production of electricity an essential service? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Brunder?
The Rapidan Dam, I think the one thing we all have to remember is this will take about 10 to 12 years to remove. So if we do remove it, and we haven't made that decision yet, it will take a long time. It takes between 4 and 5 years to get the funding and just the permits alone and the engineering done on it. So I think it's very important that we have a safe structure, though, until we decide what we're going to do with it. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now. We have not been producing energy out of there since 2019, from my understanding. So as far as the money we were sticking into, a lot of that was federal money so we could keep producing power. And that has been helpful because that is what we dumped into the bottom of it to save it. So a lot of stuff has been said about the dam, and there is going to be some decision points in the next 3 to 5 months that we'll start working towards answering some of those questions and moving that forward. As far as the highway building, we've worked extremely hard trying to find a location. We had some public hearings that the neighborhood was not interested in having it out in that area. The part of moving it back to County Road 12 and up by the Justice Center, logistically, it just doesn't work very well for the county. We need to be south of the city of Mankato, from my understanding, if it's just the most geographical area that we can cover. I've been pitching to bring it to Eagle Lake, but I'm not getting any traction with that because it just doesn't fit. We did have one meeting the other day with some admin staff and some engineers, and I said, if you had a place to pick, and if the money wasn't the object, where would you put this highway shop, to work logistically for your trucks? Because over the next 50 years that this operation is going to be sitting there, the trucks have to be moving around, and then there's loaded miles, unloaded miles, and all that they calculate. And it sounds like it's a little further south, maybe out by Highway 90 or something. We don't want to be in town. And I really struggle with using good property up by the Justice Center, by the other MnDOT building up there, because that's a very highly taxed area. And why put a big, huge operation up there that doesn't pay taxes? It's a very valuable space, and we don't need that valuable of a space to run our operation out of. We have been saving money for the highway building. We have a good chunk of money put aside for that, which is very helpful in trying to finance that. And the Rapidan Dam, we have not stocked away a lot of money for that because we have to keep putting money into it to keep it safe so it doesn't fall over on anybody. So the highway building is going to be a very interesting process, but we have just decided that it's going to be our next location for 50 years. Let's get the right spot.
Thank you, sir. We're going to wrap up with our last question here.
Okay, last question, simply put, and I believe we start with Mr. Arneson on this one.
Yep.
Why should voters vote for you?
Well, I think my
Hit your button for me, please.
Yes. They should vote for me despite the fact I can't figure out how to run the mic. I think I have a good skill set for being on the county board. The experience that I've had working with the county, as county attorney, I worked with every county department, obviously, public safety, roads and bridges. I have extensive experience in that. As a trial attorney for 30 years, so I can be combative when necessary, but I also know how to work well with others, to play good with other people as well. Some of the organizations that I've been on include the Highland Park Neighborhood Association. I'm on the board of directors. I was on the board of directors for the Minnesota County Attorneys Association, a Sertoma Club officer, District 77 Public Safety Committee, MSU Anti-Violence Committee, the Sex Offender Task Force headed by the State Corrections Department, Judge Smith's monthly Judicial Advisory Committee, the 6th District Bar Association. I was president and a board member of the Key Cities Conservation Club. So I think I have the experience and the skill set and the educational background to be a good contribution to the county board.
Thank you, Mr. Arneson. Mr. Sternberg.
Other than nobody else is running against me. I'm in my 12th year, and I look at Blue Earth County, and I am very happy with how we've handled the different issues over the last 12 years. I've had some amazing commissioners to work with. When we go into something, we don't always vote alike, but when we come away, we respect each other. And I think that's the difference between Mankato, Blue Earth County, and some of the other parts of the state of Minnesota. People have asked me if I'm a Democrat or if I'm a Republican, and I let them know that I'm not. I don't work for a party. I work for the people of Blue Earth County, and that's who I take my orders from, and that's who I try to make sure their life is getting better because of what I'm doing. I've got an extensive background, and I could tell you all sorts of different committees that I've been chair on, but it really comes down to just what comes from the heart. And people that know me know that I care for other people. And that's really what you need in this, somebody that's going to care for other people and make sure that you're going to help them in the big picture.
Thank you. Mr. Pape.
With the support of my wife Julie and my family, I want to continue to dedicate my time, my experience, my energy, again, to ensure Blue Earth County remains strong, viable, and sustainable, not only for our two grandsons, the sixth generation, but all future generations. You know, I believe I'm rooted in experience in rural and community issues, have nearly 40 years of proven leadership experience at the local, state, and national level. And I have strong relationships, and I'm able to work together with the community to take on the opportunities and challenges, and would respectfully ask for your vote. If you want to learn more about my experiences, papforcommissioner.com gets into those. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brunder.
Thank you. I wish everyone would vote for me because I try to do what I can for the county. I work extremely hard. I like to listen to people and try to be a problem solver for issues. Unfortunately, that doesn't always work out that way, but we always at least take the steps to try to move forward and provide a good service for Blue Earth County. And I think I'm relatively fiscally responsible, although we do have to raise our taxes and fund the things that we have going on in this county, but we try to educate, be transparent, and show people why it's a good move forward for us to fund all these different projects. So, thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. People, to you finally.
I believe that my tenure as District 3 Commissioner since 2009 has been a listen and a learn experience, and that we have made Blue Earth County more effective and efficient with your tax dollars and more transparent and accountable, I think, to all our residents. And I wish to continue the effort in those regards. And as we talked about with the issues tonight, that work hard to do the listen and learn and do the right thing for our county.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you to our candidates for the discussion this evening. Please join me in thanking them. Thank you to Joe and the Mankato Free Press for your partnership this evening. Thank you to the City of Mankato for hosting us. Thanks to all of you for attending this evening. Then all forums are recorded by our friends at KTV and Bethany Lutheran College and are available online at greatermankatoelections.com. Thank you, good night, and don't forget to vote.